Hey, I'm Kimberly with Elixir Mentor. Jacob recently added recruitment services to help companies hire pre-vetted Elixir devs. I help with company outreach, so if you're hiring, I may be reaching out, or you can connect with us anytime at elixirmentor.com.
Secure your Elixir apps with Paraxial.io. From code analysis and bot defense to dependency checks, they've got you covered. Elixir first design with GitHub integration. Elevate your security at Paraxial.io. Testing. What's up? I'm Jacob Blitzo, your Elixir Mentor, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Elixir Mentor Podcast. This is where we discuss everything related to Elixir, from interviews with enthusiasts, pioneers in the community, to innovative projects and libraries shaping Elixir's future. Coby and Daniel from MarkeTeam AI join me today to talk about building AI agents for marketing workflows. Welcome, guys. I'm excited to have you join me today. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, happy to be here.
Thank you. Absolutely our honor.
So we got to do just a little kickoff so everyone kind of knows who you guys are. Coby, could you tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, how you got into engineering, and like when you discovered Elixir, and kind of the whole story?
Yeah, well, I was born an unfortunately long time ago. And then 11 years later, my dad kind of got me into the whole engineering thing. We started doing projects together. I started off in a language that probably none of your listeners have heard of, which is called Perl. It's a practical extraction and reporting language. It was very fun, from the 70s. And then kind of spiraled from there. I picked up Elixir, I want to say it was 2015, because the name sounded cool. And I've been coding in it on and off ever since, both professionally and non-professionally. I mean, it's a fantastic language. I absolutely love it. And when I got the chance to kind of put it into our startup, our little startup here at MarkeTeam, I went with it. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, it does sound cool, the name, right? And then ever since I think I started writing Elixir in like 2020, and now like purple's my favorite color and all these. It's just, the whole Kool-Aid has been consumed.
Oh yeah. No, I mean, being called an alchemist, love it.
And then Daniel, can you give the same kind of introduction, your background and everything?
Sure. I just didn't know that Coby gets called alchemist, but yeah. Yeah, I think that I'm...
He wears a cloak too.
That's, yeah. Well, I think it goes back to like how I got the idea of that, this being like making a living of this, or being at least very least interested in this. It happened when I used to play FIFA on my computer, and then one day I was just thinking like, how does this work? I mean, how does this whole thing? And it's trying to understand. But well, almost 40 years later, or 30 years later, I haven't developed a FIFA game. But at the very least, I have a good idea of how I would approach building such thing. But yeah, later on, as part of my studies, I went into the whole, it was part of the curriculum. So C# was the, C++ and C# was how I started. And I hated it. It was, I just couldn't get it.
You hated C#?
Well, you gotta remember, this was back a long time ago.
It was back at least 15 years ago. This was not the cool C# nowadays people talk about.
I was gonna say, like, I love C#, but I still haven't written in C# for like 5 years.
Oh. Yeah, and then I actually my older brother, he told me like, have you heard of this Ruby on Rails? Oh, Ruby. He just mentioned Ruby, and I just went into it, and then it was a chapter that said web applications. I was like, okay, and it was Ruby on Rails, and then I went into it. That's how I started working on it. And then someone said like, it's what's very much like Ruby, but way cooler. Let's say Elixir. And then it stuck to me. And then I was trying to, and I used it for many, many months or even years as a conventional Ruby or Ruby on Rails apps are used. Until not long ago, where thanks to actually Coby, I had the opportunity to dive deeper into it and understand all the intricacies and where the whole the magic lies down. So that's how I got to it and not planning to leave it.
Yeah, I think it's like you kind of dip your toes into it and you're like, you start understanding syntax, pattern matching, and some of the basic things and like pipe operators. Like, oh, this is cool. And you start loving the syntax, and then you start diving into processes and gen servers, and then you're stuck. You can't go to any other language ever again.
The Elixir concurrency story is possibly my all-time favorite concurrency story across all the languages that I've done. It was so much better. It's so ergonomic.
It's right. Like, I know I've said this a lot on my podcast, but like my favorite like keynote speech that Jose did was the pattern matching one, where he goes through, typical OOP programming patterns, and then it kind of explains how they're just already naturally tied into just how like the Beam VM operates. And
was that the Gang of None one? That's a fantastic one.
It might be. Let me see if I can. Yeah. Let's see.
I think he covers like all everything from just passing in functions to
the Gang of None. Yep.
Yeah.
It's such a good video. If you guys, it's like from 2024. If you haven't watched it, Google it and find it. It's so good.
Yeah. I sent that to some of the newer engineers on our team when they joined. I don't force them to watch things, but I hope they have, because it's just one of those fantastic things that just really shows you how amazing Elixir is.
So can you guys tell me kind of like macro description of what MarkeTeam is? Like,
sure, yeah. So MarkeTeam or MarkeTeam AI, we're a Gen AI startup. So haters gonna hate, but that's who we are.
We were joking. We already got hate in the first comment on the chat today because AI is in the title. So
that's who we are. We gotta love ourselves. I mean, but yeah. So we're Gen AI startup. From the name, I assume you can guess that we focus on marketing. We got a pretty wide product. The core of it is that we provide what we called AI coworkers, and then someone from OpenAI or Anthropic or whoever it was made up the name agent, and then we started having to rename all of our stuff agents. But it's a set of essentially coworkers that join your team on marketing. They're autonomous. They kind of pull in a lot of data. They chat with you. You can chat with them. You can trigger them to do things. You can have them connect to all of your accounts, and they kind of boost the marketing team of whoever's using them, or the marketing of whoever's using them.
Sorry, 1 second. My coffee machine's turning off and making noise.
Oh boy.
All right, it's done. That's awesome. Now I'm curious. Your website mentions that you like built your own LLM and everything for marketing specifically, right?
Yeah.
What's the thought pattern behind like creating your own versus using what's out there and just prompting it to work the way you want it?
So there's a lot of different thought processes. We started MarkeTeam in 2023, July of 2023, something like that. It's been a couple of years. back before LLMs were good at anything. I think it was just after ChatGPT came out and GPT-4 had just come out around that time. Wasn't that great at following instructions. There wasn't any sort of thing like structured outputs or function calling even back then. So when it came to actually kind of figuring out how to do things, we had to kind of do it on our own. So we started off by going through the whole process of training an LLM to do it. This was, again, like a couple of years ago. So we started off, I think it was, we took a Llama 2 model, and then we started post-training it with even more marketing data. We have like a data set of something like 2 trillion tokens. It's like one of our proprietary sets. We also, I mean, if people want to go and check us out on our Hugging Face, we got stuff on there that they can always take a look at. But yeah, the process was basically just starting from post-training and then fine-tuning from there. And that was back then. LLMs have gotten much better since then. So we have stopped trying to focus on the kind of complete, like being a big LLM provider, to more focusing on our LLM around strategy, which is what we do right now. So our custom LLM is marketing strategy oriented, and we, within that strategy, know how to utilize tools in the marketer's toolbox, which includes nowadays things like ChatGPT and Claude to do other tasks. So we are not only using our own custom LLM, but we also shell out to others for specific tasks like video generation, image generation, or content generation in general.
Okay, that's cool. Yeah, I've had a couple of conversations around, like, I feel like that is like the right way to move, right? Like if you're going to have a custom LLM, you make it like very like niche specific to what you're doing. And then then shell out to the big ones if you need to handle anything crazier that it's trained on. Yeah. But then you kind of have your superpower under the hood with marketing strategy. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's been kind of like this huge thing, and I mean we've been pushing it for since the beginning. Is very much been focused on strategy, and we've kind of honed in and fine-tuned it to not only strategy but knowing kind of how a marketer thinks, how a marketer uses tools, and continuously learning, continuously training, and using new tools as they become available.
So what is your entire stack?
We're an all Elixir shop. We're
like LiveView everything.
Heck yeah.
That's all. Like I feel like it's very rare when you like find out everyone like full Elixir and LiveView. So that's pretty cool. I love to hear that.
Yeah, it's I mean it's I'll share a little bit of the history behind that. I mean, we didn't start off as a full Elixir stack. Before Daniel joined, actually, we were a lot more Python and React. It was rough. We had like 60 different lambdas and a bunch of infrastructure and Terraform and CDK managing all that. We had a whole React app. We had to deal with all the craziness behind that. And then at the beginning of 2024, I brought in Daniel, and we kind of started looking at how to kind of inject Elixir into the stack. So we did kind of a full rewrite of everything. It's been a while since then. We're 2 years into the Elixir itself, and we have like 170,000 lines of Elixir code. I won't lie to you, we do have TypeScript, we do have JavaScript. We got like 6,000 lines of JavaScript interoperating with LiveView. But it's a necessity. Yeah, exactly.
You can't win them all.
So what is that process completely over? Are you fully on your Elixir stack then?
Oh yeah.
And how fast was like doing the rewrite? Was it relatively speedy?
The initial rewrite took us about 4 months, I want to say, because we had like kind of a full product, and we were also maintaining that full product beforehand. And then we kind of shifted everything. We did like the full shift to the new product, and from there, it's been 100% Elixir.
How'd that go? Was it a stressful day?
I clicked a button and then I turned off my phone.
On Friday afternoon? No.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I gotta say it's an easy pitch when I was I look at the whole thing started. I saw the job posting and I was like, well, okay. And when I clicked on it and I saw like the common connection works there, I was like, this is even more interesting. Like, and then
yeah, I guess you guys don't have the backstory of Daniel and I, but we met a while ago. I think it was like 6 or 7 years ago already, at a completely different company where we also did Elixir.
It's kind of a small community. Once you start knowing Elixir devs, you at least you have some sort of connection between. Like, I feel like I know at least one mutual connection with every Elixir developer. You know?
Oh,
yeah, and it's also a bridge you don't burn.
What's that?
It's a bridge that you don't burn.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you don't want to, at least.
Yeah. It's
I mean, like the way, like I've gotten most of my jobs through knowing people I've worked with in the past versus like doing the full-fledged technical interview, you know?
Oh yeah.
And it's less stressful that way.
Yeah.
Way less.
From my side as the person who hired Daniel, it was also much better because I knew what I was getting into. He'd already punched me in the face a few times, so I knew what I was doing.
You already know his code sucks.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the pull requests, the reason, like, I've seen worse from you.
Like you're doing better.
Yeah. So yeah, back in the day when I met him and he pitched the product, not the pitch, he just showed me the product and why the whole idea of the rewrite and into Elixir, it all made sense, right? Because it was all about managing conversations, which we all know from history that it's like the base of it, right? So it made total sense. And plus, the one other thing that brought me in was the fact that we have 0 DevOps engineers. Mm-hmm. And we don't deploy on fly, right? We are we are on Amazon. Some stuff is also on GCP, but the fact that it was very easy to handle this side of the technical side. It was very good because I can read DevOps related stuff, but I cannot do DevOps related stuff.
I don't want to admit this publicly, but I'm going to. I rely very heavily on Claude written code if I'm writing like config files. And yeah.
Heard it here first. Yeah, heard it here first. Config files through Claude.
But I will say I can at least read it, so I know if there's like some nasty code in there. Yeah. But I'm not a DevOps guy. I won't claim to. It's definitely like my biggest struggle. But because I feel like once you have it set up and your release process is there, everything's on autopilot. So like I feel like I so rarely set it up. You always forget what you did.
So I did a lot of DevOps at previous employment places. I can say that it's definitely not like that. Just because my biggest problem is that things are just constantly updating in that world. So I think every week I had to update something on Kubernetes. So here we're very raw. We push a bundle from mixed release into an EC2 machine and we let it kind of run.
I kind of want to go that route. I use like Docker containers and things and Docker Compose, but just using release sounds nice. Just push it on a bare metal machine.
Oh yeah, it makes things easy. Don't have to worry too much about it. I think maybe we touch DevOps stuff like once every 3 or 4 months.
Yeah. But he says
that's how I do it. People underestimate, like when you have a DevOps team, there's a lot going on. Like those guys are smart.
Oh yeah. Don't I know it?
I mean, don't get me wrong. for the company size, it's a good match, right? I mean, the company goes to grow like 3 times already.
You eventually need a DevOps team, yeah, depending on your
maybe.
Well, honestly, like at Collects, we have like 5 million users. We have pretty heavy traffic, and we don't have a DevOps team. It's our backend team.
Nice.
It's great.
Yeah.
How are you guys deployed?
GCP and Kubernetes.
With their autopilot or just like, hardcore?
A little bit of both. But
right.
yeah. I mean, like I said, like I'm a back end guy. I'm like slowly learning Kubernetes. I wouldn't say it's a superpower of mine. So like I can get releases out the door, but if there's a bigger problem, I need some help.
Yeah, I dealt with Kubernetes for a long time. I loved it. It's so cool. It's also really complex.
It is very complex. It does a lot. That's the problem. Like you don't really need, most people don't need everything that it's capable of doing, right?
Exactly. Although, I mean, we talked about this before the stream started, but I do have Kubernetes running on my home cluster.
Yeah.
Gotta love it.
Yeah,
it's not running anything. It's just running.
It's just there. Sahar, does a startup need a DevOps team? I don't think so. I think that's once you start having like scaling and performance issues, you probably want to start considering dialing in your DevOps. But I think you're more than capable of running your own load balancer and figuring it out.
Yeah, it really depends also where you're sitting. I mean, nowadays, when I started years ago, I relied heavily for my projects and even places I was working at for small projects on Heroku, right? You have now Fly.io, which does, that and more. And you literally don't need to be a DevOps person. You can just read the documentation.
Daniel speaking about Heroku means that you guys can now start dating how old he is.
Guys, I'm probably older than both of you.
No chance. I just look good, but
yeah.
I just look younger, yeah. Yeah, but anyways, it's a real every case it should be looked differently. But I know I would small startup depending on your product and everything. I would say like if you can go with a hosted deployment, it's the way to go. If you have someone that already understands the DevOps without being DevOps, like Coby, for example, he has a wide understanding of it, then it's even better, right? Because you can take care of that. And
I'll also say that with a lot of like the tools that the Beam gives, you don't need a lot of DevOps. I mean, even there's that famous slide from way back that used to have like the 2 columns of what you need for the this stat versus the Beam is everything just the Beam. But even nowadays, like Flame, for me at least, changed the game a lot. Like you can just elastically scale machines whenever you want. That's awesome.
Yeah, I love that post. I feel like I need to find that again and just like repost it. The Beam solves everything. I love that. I'm curious, I think I know the answer, but so I do like the name coworkers, by the way. But so you have multiple agents, right? And they all have their specialties, their skills, or whatever you want to call them. What made you want to go down like that route versus like one agent that does it all? Like, did you actually find performance, like better performance, I suppose, breaking it up and having specific skill sets among them?
Yeah. So I think I don't know how much the viewers have kind of like used LLMs, especially with like a wide array of tools. But a common thing that we have seen since the beginning is that the more tools an LLM has, the more confused it gets. It fills up the context. You get too many things. At a certain point, you're paying $300 just because you have 5,000 tools in your Claude Code set up and it's per prompt and all that stuff. It's no fun. So splitting up specialties was something that we started before agents were even a thing. That's also where the word coworkers came from. We are a marketing startup after all. Hell yeah. So we split them up initially because we actually trained different sets of fine-tuned adapters for our original LLM way back. We started by training initial things for different specialties, so that we could make sure that everything was very kind of specialized towards that. Nowadays, it just kind of fits in very naturally, especially with being able to shut down the amount of tools into very specific niches, because not everyone needs everything.
Yeah, for sure. How are you handling multiple agents and like processes and then like individual clients? Does every individual client get like the same trained LLM agent, but like their own version? And then how do you manage like context and context sharing and things?
Yeah, every tenant, we go with the classic multi-tenant, right? So every tenant has their own workspace. They've got their own context, and all the tools are scoped to that tenant. So anything related to like pulling data. I mentioned that our agents integrate throughout your entire marketing stack. That means that we're integrated into, let's say, for example, your Facebook and your Instagram, so that we can know kind of how you write, how you post, what kind of images, texts, links, that kind of thing, how often, how much. And that's all per tenant, per brand that's joining us. So they are very scoped. Everything is very context scoped to whoever is currently speaking to the agent. And then multi-agent and things like that, it's all the beam. It's all processes talking to each other. It's just mapping just
message passing between like gen servers essentially.
Well, not gen servers.
It's a mix of everything, but
we're special. We're alternative. We use gen state machine.
Okay, all right.
And then, just to add up a little bit to what Coby explained, I think with the agents, maybe it's important to mention that while the tooling from agent to agent is similar, once, and this comes in what Coby mentions, because every person that goes into interaction, let's treat them as processes, right? So that process gets the context of that brand, right? So that agent or the many agents that the person may be talking to, they might have the same tooling across the system for different users, but they have their own context. So, and following up with what Coby mentioned before, when we managed to split that pool of tooling that an agent can have, we saw the real reduction of interactions that you would need to have in order to get to a desired goal.
Okay. How are you like maintaining like context from, the day I sign up for your service and like all my interactions? Like do you have your own like custom compaction? How are you storing that kind of stuff?
Yeah, we store a lot. We have a lot of different.
I feel like you have to, right?
Yeah, we got to store a lot. But everything, luckily, there are a lot of different patterns in the world of AI and LLMs that make it easy to, search. The RAG pattern is the most well-known, common pattern that everyone kind of knows about, and that's what we use generally. RAG in terms of the agent asks a tool that can search through assets, give me an asset that matches this, or tell me what is, close to this. And then, system searches, brings back what's relevant and goes from there.
Okay, cool. And I'm trying to so from my perspective, I'm incredibly interested in your product for Kill Switch because I am a software engineer. I'm not good at marketing by any means. What would day one of me signing up for your product look like? How would I even set up any kind of marketing strategy for Kill Switch?
Sure. So sort of depends on what you're looking for. Because at the end of the day, we're focused on your brand. So the day one is, sign in, land on our app, connect stuff. If you want to connect stuff, you can also start by not connecting stuff, but we typically encourage you to like connect any socials that you have, or if you have like a, WordPress or like a Shopify or like some sort of CMS, we encourage you to connect that, because more connections means more ways for us to gather context about you or about your product. And then from there, you just start chatting. We have a few different like quick starters that you can always like select from within the app. But in terms of like learning how to do strategy and things like that, you can even just ask the agent. The specialization that we've built in is very much oriented around helping people at all levels. So someone who comes in and is very like direct and says like, I need a specific Google Ads campaign for targeting this specific demographic and this specific keyword. I've connected my analytics so you can see how it works so far and how we've done things so far. Go for it. And you can also just kind of join in and talk to one of the agents and say, hey, what should I do? Because I don't really know.
And then I'm curious, like, would I connect to like my Google Ads account, or am I manually taking like a strategy you output and creating it? How does that work?
Sort of depends on which connections we're talking about. Certain connections are kind of fully managed. We have like a full calendar. That was one of the places where we did a full LiveView integration into building a calendar component, which was insane.
Probably hard.
Oh yeah, it was. There's like something like 2,000 live components on that page. It's a lot. Yeah. But that calendar view is kind of translated into a backend that, schedules things and posts things for, whatever you need. But it's up to you. Like at the end of the day, you can decide not to connect anything and just tell the agent, hey, just give me a CSV and drop that into Google Ads. I think Google Ads uploads CSVs sometimes, so you can do that.
Okay.
So it's all dependent on whatever you want at the end of the day. We're highly customizable. And we'll help you learn.
That's awesome.
Same for other type of content where you can just decide that you don't want to connect your socials, for example, right? And just generate whatever content it is that you want to, and just copy to clipboard and paste it yourself, right? The benefit, and that connects with the autonomous part of it, is that when you connect, we can help you create things that sound like Jacob, and not just general generated content. Why? Because the moment you generate, we analyze the data that you've created already, right? And then the next time you come in, even for a suggestion, we match that to stuff that you've created in the past. So we help you to keep the line of whatever it is that you want to move forward with.
I like that. I'd be really curious to see how well that works too, because that's my biggest gripe with like LLMs. Like if you ask it to make a post, you're like, I can tell this is written by an LLM, and then you always got to tweak it,
So I have by the way, this is for real life. I have this friend that she stopped. So she's a psychologist, right? Unrelated stuff to what we do here, and she stopped posting for a while. And then when I was talking to her, she told me like, well, I have these articles that I've written in the past here and there, and I need this small boost for the ideation part of it and get back into track. And that was like a year ago. I mean, if I have to think about it, we had way less than we have nowadays. And I started manually putting that, right? Because it was like, I didn't have her accounts or whatever. So I did ask her like, let's try something. And she just played along. And when I gave her back what the system was giving, she was stunned. And she was saying like, seriously, I mean, she was literally saying I couldn't have written that better.
That's awesome.
I was like, well,
that's okay, great feedback, right?
That's insane feedback, right? And I guess that, for the purpose of maybe kind of an ego or whatever, she went and switch a word here and there, whatever. But I think the essence of it is that sometimes we're all stuck with starting, and that could be the game changer when you want to get that first push into something.
Yeah.
Yeah, a very common thing, just like in general, is like even if you ask an LLM to generate, some sort of social media or a blog or anything like that, it's not only extremely like generic, but it's also, not branded to how you speak, or even getting your name right. Super common thing whenever I used to do this with our brand name. I mean, our brand name is MarkeTeam, but it would always say like, "Oh, Marketing Inc."
Yeah.
Things like that. But when we kind of connect and get all your data and kind of orient the strategic part of the LLM into exactly kind of how you've already posted and everything like that, it can learn and know from that, which kind of changes the game when it comes to making sure that everything is within your tone of voice, within your brand guidelines, within your branding itself, all that.
Yeah, that's cool. I'm curious, like when you're like making tweaks to your agents and everything, how do you how do you test before you take something to production to know that it's going to behave the same way you expect it to? Like, I feel like that would be a difficult thing because you don't ever want to have a regression on your production product.
Mm-hmm. Well, everything in our system is backed by multiple levels of feature flags and settings, that let us kind of from afar enable or disable things, at the level of like tenant to groups to specific user IDs.
Yeah.
So our testing, goes into, we will build whatever tooling or make a tweak to a prompt or make a change to, say like, hey, let's give this specialized agent extra stuff or whatever. We push out into staging. We do a couple of checks in staging, but usually staging is not as representative of production because of the amount of data flowing through staging, things like that. And when we push out to production, we kind of do slow releases and measure from there.
Okay,
So we have
nice.
our beta testers that help us. They're always like kind of eager to get the newest stuff going, and we hear from them.
Yeah, that's smart to do the feature flag thing. And then you can also probably, I'm assuming you do some A/B testing and things, and you can kind of you can do a
Yeah,
lot of things. Yeah.
yeah. The feature flags. I mean, we use Elixir for everything, so we're using, like the Elixir open source is fantastic. Fun with Flags is a fantastic package, and it gives us, rollouts. It gives us things like, the percentages, so that I can do percentage of users, percentage of time, things like that, and we, test and go from there.
Yeah, nice. Very cool. Yeah, I just like because there's so much like unknown with how LLMs are going to respond. So I was
Yeah.
curious there. Like,
Oh yeah.
have you ever had to just like immediately roll something back because it just operated on production like way differently than you expected?
Yeah, the most common thing that I've seen. I mean, I'll answer for myself, and I don't know if Daniel has seen other things, but the most common thing that I've seen, that kind of goes crazy, is always related to the context, the brand context. I can, test as much as I like with my fake bakery that I have on our staging environment that says that I'm an incredible baker that loves chocolate chip cookies. But when I push it out, and then a company who does beauty or wellness or some sort of like, something related to the health space, wants to make sure that they're not breaking FDA guidelines, which is a whole thing that you have to deal with, and our LLM, whatever tweak we did doesn't follow it correctly, then we immediately have to like, shift back and get out of there.
Yeah, yeah, I can imagine. We have a good question here. I can answer it if you guys want, but is there an advantage to using Elixir over Python for AI agents?
I mean, I've done an entire lecture about this. I just spoke at Codebeam a couple months ago, and I literally did an entire lecture about how it maps directly to how Elixir works.
Yeah, there we go. I mean, like my quick answer would just be just the concurrency and the fact that you can run thousands of processes at the same time make Elixir the
Mhm.
winner there, and you don't have that with Python. But
Oh
I'll
yeah.
let like if you have a whole talk, I'll let you go on a rant if you want.
We got 45 minutes, right? I can.
Yeah, we got plenty of time.
Last time he did it in 40 minutes.
Let me pull up my slides. No, I mean, I mentioned earlier that we're like kind of special and alternative, and we use Gen State Machine, which is something that I don't know if a lot of Elixir devs have heard of. I tend to try and push it a lot.
I've heard of it, but I have not used it, so I'm ready to learn.
You absolutely should use it because it is an incredible tool. The reason I think that not as many Elixir devs use it over Gen State Machine is because it is not wrapped as nicely as a Gen server. Gen server in Elixir is such a common pattern that it's already wrapped and written as an Elixir module, whereas Gen State Machine, you got to remember how it works with Erlang, and you're going to the Erlang docs and you're reading the Erlang behavior details, which are very different and not as like easily consumable. Mm-hmm. But it's this incredible, very similar to Gen server engine. It's a process. It's part of the OTP process, but it lets you do things like model your state machine, which if you've been building AI agents are state machines. They map very directly to that. The most common pattern in AI agents is React. It's reasoning, actions, observations. It's just a state machine of 3 states and then a loop. So writing in Gen State Machine patterns lets us map very easily to an agent pattern. Not only that, there's like a ton of other features that Gen State Machine gives you. For example, you can postpone messages. You can build in things like handling timeouts and arbitrary timeouts, state timeouts, all sorts of enter calls, exit calls. You can do things that may seem magical, like throw from within a very deep function will automatically just like be caught at the state machine level and then move on. It's something that makes it a lot simpler to reason about how you build an agent loop. Because at the end of the day, agents are state machines in a loop.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I mean, that's a process, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I would believe that most people stick to the Gen servers because I think as they go in their learning path in Elixir, that's the first thing. When you go into the OTP behaviors, that's the first thing they meet probably, and then it solves. You can do everything, obviously, right? And then it seems like one tool that can cover all. And sometimes that's it. You don't need to. If you have this great tool that you learn, because it doesn't have too much, of a learning curve. If you go into the state machine, just the machine, it has more features, more things you could be aware. So I guess it's kind of a natural thing because it also happened to me, right? I could just write Gen server and just stop dropping, and then you suddenly. But if you go deeper and deeper, you start learning and realizing things that is like, okay, I could have like a dynamic one, right? So because and then it's also like kind of a natural path. You start with the static part of it, and then you get I can drop in
the magic. Once you start learning how to dynamically create
as I go, okay, and then you realize that you're just looking at the tip of the iceberg, right? You go into state machines, you go into Gen stage, and then you just start realizing the power of the whole of the beam, giving you all this tooling to cover different necessities that otherwise you would have to build microservices or I don't know what else, right?
I find it wild that like the beam solves all these problems we still have today 40 years ago, and we're still using, like, I don't need all the features of the beam VM, but they're there if I need them,
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I've dived very deep into Elixir and Erlang and the Beam in general, and it's by far my passion and my favorite language. I've worked with a lot, and I'm still learning kind of new things and like new, just very insane things that I didn't think were possible or even thought of, and somehow somebody thought of them, put them into the Beam, and I could just use it.
Yeah, it's
great.
wild. Well, I love these conversations too, because you always find just like little snippets of new ways to do things too. Like,
Mhm.
now I'm gonna go check out Gen State Machine and see how it can change my life.
Oh yeah, I mean it will. There's a lot of very common patterns that I used to build, and I mean, to give a little history, we built our entire first version of the platform. Well, second version. I said the first version was those Python lambdas and React. So the second version of our platform, which was the first version of our Elixir platform, was built with a lot of Gen servers. And there's tons of patterns that you kind of realize as you're building with Gen servers that are very appropriate to a state machine
Can
or
you
Gen
kind
state.
of did you run into like any like scaling or any issues before you moved to the Gen State Machine versus Gen
Not as much
servers?
scaling and issues as it was readability.
Gotcha.
Um,
Okay.
for example, there's a lot of like functionality around timeouts in state machines.
Hmm.
In Gen servers, there's like a super common pattern, right? You do process send after, you do a timeout, you get the handle info, and
It's
uh,
hard to reliably retry processes from a Gen server. Like if you're trying to roll out your own custom solution, it's not easy.
yeah, I mean, and it's also getting more and more complicated when you start doing like multiple timeouts and things like that. Like in our original engine, we had all sorts of grace periods and timeouts for letting people type and talk to the agent, because unlike ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, we actually let people interrupt the agent, which changes the game for them because they can actually like stop them and keep typing and realize that if they forgot something, they can keep going, things like that. So we have a lot of timeouts around, things like that. All of them had to be handled by a Gen server. And from there, you go into having to have a bunch of handle info blocks, all of which are kind of receiving different references and hoping for the best. And then when we kind of shifted into our V2 of our platform, Gen State Machine has built-in timeout management where you can kind of give arbitrary timeouts at the level of the return value of the state machine. You can just say, hey, let's give an arbitrary timeout to this, and it'll manage that timeout for you. Makes things a lot easier. All of a sudden, I didn't have to manage all these refs, manage cancellation, manage resets, manage this. The engine just handled it for me. There's a lot of patterns like that. Postponing events is a super common pattern where you want to do buffering. If you want to buffer data in a Gen server, I would then add some sort of list where I'm buffering into that list, and then eventually I would have another timeout that managed the pushing of that buffer. With Gen State Machine, I can just tell it, hey, I'm not going to do anything with this event, but send it when I go into a different state. Just resend it into and that also changes the game. All of a sudden, I don't have to write an entire buffer management solution inside my Gen server. So it just kind of mapped really well into a lot of things around chats, conversations, and agents, which is why kind of when we built it.
Yeah, that's cool. You said one thing that kind of caught my attention, and I didn't really think about this being an issue. And I'm not building like any AI tooling, so I don't have a lot of experience with it. But I recently found out that like actually interrupting an agent or like a process or an LLM is like not the best thing. And I'm curious, so like you said you pause it, and then do you just like update the prompt, or like how do you handle interruptions at that point?
Mm-hmm. There are a lot of different cases, and it's very dependent on like the case. If you just as like a high level idea, like if you start typing and then you stop typing and you're like, I'm not going to say anything, you erase what you wrote. We just let the agent keep going. What ends up happening in kind of the background is that we're just pausing, pushing a timeout, making sure that like if the call to our LLM and then any tool calls and things like that have happened, we're not actually gonna do anything with them. We pause any execution just to make sure that like they're kind of static. So if you have typed and then decide not to, we can just restart it very easily. But if you've typed and changed the context, then we make adjustments on the context. So if you like send a message or edit a message, things like that, we change when we make adjustments based on what has happened.
So let's say I just like send a prompt in the middle of it already, processing my last prompt. How do you know that it's a context change or like completely side tangent? Like how do you handle things like that?
Depends on the situation, but typically classifiers and things like that help a lot.
Okay.
So we do a lot of things related to whether or not this should change, whether or not this should be addressed.
Separately or in the same?
Yeah. And again, this also depends on like, who the users are and stuff like that. We tend to promote in the product focusing the chat onto specific topics. We have like, branching enabled so that if you actually want to shift off into a different branch of a conversation, you can without having to change the conversation itself.
Okay, nice. Because if there's anything that I've learned over the years, like I used to do like manufacturing automation and things, humans mess up everything. You write a flow to how it should work, and then like the downside of the engineer is you only test it the way you wrote it for, so it's hard to find edge cases. But the second you give it to a new person that isn't familiar and you're like, okay, use it, and then they start using it the wrong way and everything blows up and breaks. Yeah, so
there's that meme of the QA engineer tests 99, tests 100, tests negative numbers, everything's working fine. The user walks in and orders a beer, and the whole bar bursts into flames. Right?
yeah.
It's
my favorite QA meme is like the guy with the bulletproof vest, and he tells the QA guy to shoot him, and he shoots him in the leg.
Oh no. Love it.
It's like that is how it works, right?
I mean, and that's that also we talked before about the feature flags and all that, but that's one of the biggest reasons why we have them, is to make sure I can turn it off when I realize that someone is doing something very wrong.
Yeah, that's really smart. I need to implement feature flags, I think, into my project. I like that. Because just like the fact that you can test it down to one account before you fully release it too. Because like in my case, it's really hard to create a staging environment that's the same as production. I'm sure that's the same for you guys. It's very difficult.
Yeah.
And so like I get it. A lot of companies don't even have staging. They go straight to production, but it's a good way to at least avoid a giant explosion.
Yeah. I mean, we have our staging, and it's mostly like for E2E and integration tests, so that we can just
make sure it deploys and compiles and builds and yeah.
Yeah. Also, you mentioned that narrow it down to a single account. It can even be done to because we have, for example, organizations, right? We have organizations and people are like users and organization. So we can narrow it down to a full organization, to a specific user, to a group, right? So it gives you a nice set of granularity depending on what you're planning to show.
Yeah, I like that a lot. What is like is it difficult to like once like do you end up like do you have like a default configuration once you realize like this build's stable? Does it like not become a feature flag anymore, or how do you handle that?
Right now manually.
Okay.
And secrets of the trade, we don't wait that long. I mean,
yeah.
I'll push something out, I'll do my tests, I'll ask someone else to just check on their user account, and then I'll turn it on. The nice thing about the feature flags is that turning it off is very easy. So I don't worry as much about the rollout as I do about the reversal.
The reversal is the nice part for sure. I like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It just makes things much simpler to make sure that we push out very quickly. We are a startup after all, so we got to make sure we're going fast. And what's the thing that Facebook used to say? Move fast and break things. We do that quite a bit. But we always have strategies in place to, just, hey, I'm just going to turn this off because apparently it's not what I thought it was.
Yeah. How do you guys plan for new features and what should be implemented? What's your process there? Like, how do you decide, like, is it mostly user feedback or is it just something you want in your suite of tools?
Well, I mean, I'm the master of everything, so everything's what I want. But no, it's a lot of combinations. We have a vision. The company has a vision. The company has a target, goals, things like that. And we always aim to get towards that. But user feedback is incredibly important. So if a user is using something in a specific way that we didn't even think about and is somehow getting good results, then we expand on that. We learn from that. We, push in things towards that. It's all part of like the kind of growth and product process. We're a very small team and we don't have like a full complete product team. So it's very much based on us looking at analytics, hearing feedbacks. Our users are pretty great in comparison to other places that I've worked at who have not so great users. I mean, we work with a lot
It's
of.
so hard to get good feedback from users too. It's very difficult.
Oh yeah. It's a challenge.
I have my handful of favorite beta testers, but for the most part, it's like great. Some people are using it. It doesn't seem to be breaking, but you don't really know because you don't get feedback.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we also. I mean, my favorite part is getting completely reversed feedback from two different users. One of them saying it's amazing, one of them saying it's the worst thing in the world.
And then you just stay neutral. They cancel each other out. No.
Yeah. Oh, that works. We're good. But yeah, I mean, we work with a lot of large brands, small brands. We even work with universities, like places. Lecturers will talk about us and then give us to their students so that they can learn the future platforms in their field. And especially the students give incredible feedback because they are generally kind of like the more open people who experiment a lot. But our brands also give great feedback, especially when will release something and tell them, hey, you're a beta tester. Tell us what you think. They will very openly tell us what they think, what they would like to see, things like that. And then all that's taken into account when we make decisions.
I feel like, yeah, the younger the users, you have the Dunning-Kruger effect as well. So they're like a little more cocky and they probably give more vocal feedback than they probably should, but it's probably helpful.
Oh yeah, the students are fantastic. I mean, we worked with with a few different business schools who were teaching marketing, and we our team kind of went out there and kind of showed them how to use it, and then they had projects to do, and all that was very enlightening because all of a sudden we're seeing a completely different target audience using our platform and using it in a very different way.
Mm-hmm. I'm curious, I feel like you have the perfect product for this, but are you guys dog fooding your own product for your own marketing?
Definitely. First of all, I think we have the luck that our CEO is a marketeer, so with years of experience, defining product-wise things that people need in that specific area, it's a great luck for us because I don't come from that kind of background. So, and still, after 2 years, almost 2 years of being here, I can tell you a couple of things about marketing, but I think it's just the things that you learn in whatever tutorial, the 5-minute tutorial. But yeah, anyways, we do get exposed to it and we learn on the go to understand how that works. Because I think for Coby it's also kind of a new, relatively, I guess.
I mean, I'm definitely not a marketer, so I definitely know very little about that. Although I know how to make puns, and I believe that puns are the greatest thing to ever happen to marketing.
But yeah, and by the way, sorry, just to follow on your question, Jacob. I mean, we do use obviously the platform for generating our own content. It only makes sense, and I think it's the first test layer that we can really have. Once you see that you schedule something and it's posting, and works. So it kind of proves the point.
Well,
Otherwise,
like
it would be.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, when you need to be a power user of a product you're building, right? Like, otherwise, I feel like you're probably not going to build a very good product if you're not in it every day. And like, for instance, like I've built a few like kind of like SaaS products, right? Where I'm not like that interested, so I barely use the product, and a lot gets missed. Like, you don't build a good product when you're not like in it every day. And then like Kill Switch was like an idea I've had on in the back of my head, I should say, for like years. I don't know why I just went blurry. But yeah, it's actually like a product I want to use, so I'm using it for all my own stuff, and I'm in it every day, and it works the way I want it to. And I feel like
I
that's
gotta
pretty
ask
important.
though, how do you dog food Kill Switch?
I put my own documents out there and create my own dead man switches, and just like the way that I would expect a common user to use it, that's what I use. Like, so like,
But are you dog fooding the dead man switch itself with someone?
yeah. I mean, like, I haven't died, but I just like,
That's why I'm asking.
I let it like, I make sure the workflows work. And that's one thing I had to be like really particular around too, is like, so I'm using like scheduled like Oban workers for a lot of stuff. You can't have that stuff fail. Like, if someone truly doesn't check in, I can never not have an email and text go out, So like the retry and rescheduling is like super important. So like, obviously, like I have my test accounts on production where I let them trigger and go out. But then I also have like my real stuff, like who gets my 1Password access if I truly don't check in, and like things like that. So yeah.
How are you handling? I mean, if I can ask, how are you handling observability and things like that? I mean, if you do have failures, are you getting alerts? Do you have like some sort of like Grafana or something set up that's telling you something failed? Or
I
mean, we
don't
talked
have
about
Grafana
DevOps
set
earlier,
up.
so I'm just going in that direction.
I manually am watching things right now. But like, so I keep like the Oban dashboard up, and then I've been using like Air Tracker and things like that. But for the most part, yeah, I just am looking at my Oban scheduler for no failures, and everything should always work. And
Right.
so far, so
Hardcore.
good. Yeah.
I like it.
For how long? For how long, for example, you keep your jobs on like an Oban, the ones that like historically.
Do you have your pruner enabled?
Do I have what
I mean,
enabled?
Pruning.
I don't have pruning enabled, so right now I'm keeping everything.
We have some war stories around Oban and the pruner specifically. So it's
no, let me have it. I need to hear it.
That question, that question was very towards
Yeah. We use Oban, we use Broadway, we use a lot of like the large, processing libraries. It's
actually, we just ran into a really weird issue where all of our scheduled workers were getting delayed 24 hours.
Ooh.
And we have no idea why. And we restarted the Postgres DB, and it fixed the problem, but we don't know why.
Did you? Where's your Postgres DB located? Maybe there's a time zone issue.
It shouldn't be, but the thing is, it happened January 1st, so I'm wondering if something something happened, right? So maybe the reboot fixed the problem, but it was such a weird issue, and we couldn't figure it out for a while.
Is there DB? You can say, happened January 1st. Reboot. Bye. I know it's not
right. Exactly.
Again.
Like
I'll see
that
you
must
next
have
year.
been it. It had to be like something like a timestamp trigger or something on the DB. Something weird. I don't know.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there are very specific things that we've run into in Oban. The biggest issue that we ran into had to do with accidentally scheduling jobs in the past, and the pruner immediately pruned all of them because they were in the past, so we couldn't even see the history of what happened.
And was that just like time zones being set up poorly between like DB and a server, or like,
Yeah, it
yeah,
was a couple of combinations of like a migration having the wrong time zone and things like that. So we
yeah.
like put things in, and everything got pruned before we even knew about it. That was a fun day.
So yeah, are you still pruning?
We are. We have a lot of jobs.
Hmm.
We have several 100,000 jobs at any given like week or month, even more. Just because we have a lot of different background jobs. Different things kind of go through different processing pipelines. So, like I mentioned, we have like Broadway coming up, and we have Oban coming up. Certain things go through Oban because we're kind of more. They're more appropriate for Oban, especially with like the scheduler and the like
Dude,
the
just
snoozing.
this cron jobs, it's so nice, you know?
Yeah, super simple. But with Broadway, we tend to focus more on like the pipelines, because it just makes that kind of
I'm guessing
view
like you're probably scraping and consuming a ton of data to train your models and stuff, right?
both scraping and consuming, and also like not only scraping and consuming, but also making sure that it's everything from generation of videos and images is more pipelines and more pipelines that we build so that we can have kind of the resiliency behind pushing into a queue, having Broadway manage all the rate limiting, the back pressure, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
uh,
That makes sense.
it's pretty fun.
Yeah. No, it's cool. I mean, yeah, what can't you do with Elixir,
Exactly.
right?
You can't touch the browser. It's my
That
biggest
that's
regret.
true. That is true. But I feel like that can be fixed. It probably will be fixed someday.
Well, hologram Bart's doing amazing stuff there. Compiling to JavaScript is crazy to me, and that's coming up. I can't wait to see how it integrates into LiveView, because I think that's on the pipeline, but I'm not really
Oh,
sure
is
where it
it?
is.
That's cool. I've like glanced at that project. I want to have Bart on, but I'm not like
Nice.
super familiar with it.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of the same. I've looked at it a little bit, but I'm colorblind, so I don't really do the front end side of things that often.
Dude, I'm so bad. I can only be a front end dev because of Claude Code.
Hmm.
That's
Yeah.
how bad I am. Like it's just like Tailwind and all that crap. Like I can read it fine, but I just like I can't. I'm like all thumbs when I'm trying to like write my own
Oh,
anything on the front end.
I the when I switched we switched to Daisy like the week before Phoenix announced that they were going to switch to Daisy, and when we did that switch, it made my life so much easier because
Daisy
all the
is nice. I've been using that with Kill Switch. It's
oh yeah, it's so easy, and all the colors are semantic, so like I don't even have to think
mhm.
of like, is this red, is this green? I just say
Yeah.
error or success, and
Yeah,
it's
exactly. It's nice. But still, I still rarely write that code. I just like have my guidelines for my UI UX and send my LLM after it.
yeah. I mean, my workflow with LLMs, I do, I'm a trust but verify guy because I'm old school.
Same, same. I review every line of code that's written
Oh
and
yeah.
yeah.
But the biggest, I will say, how do you feel about like context management and things like that with Claude Code, especially in your repos? I mean, we have almost 200,000 lines of code in total in our repo. We work in a monorepo,
Yeah.
um, and we often have issues with context management because it kind of spirals out of control.
It's difficult. I would say like with like bigger projects like Collects,
Mm,
we've spun up like some agents to like only investigate like code flow. And so like
mhm,
I always will, and like if I'm working on a particular feature or a bug, I always point it where I want it to start and like give me some sort of write up about like that particular flow. And then
mhm.
once it returns that, be like, okay, well, we're having this bug. Can you like explore this a little more? Maybe try to write a failing test. And like that's usually how I handle that. And then as far as like context, I've been a huge fan of using beads.
I've heard of that.
Dude, it's a game changer. It's basically like creating just issues for whatever you're working on. and you can just have it close out issues as it goes through. But it's like basically SQLite sitting
Mm.
in your directory, and it
Nice.
manages all your issues or tasks that you want it to do. Like I'll create an MD like plan, right? A markdown plan for what I'm working on. And I'll be like, all right, now break this into beads issues and create them. And then that
Okay.
way, like I can close out of my current session, open a new one and tell it to continue. And it will just continue with the beads issues, not its own
Mm.
context.
Oh,
Right.
that's a big differentiator because yeah,
Yes.
the context is such a messy thing with coding agents. I've taken to not even using like Claude Code, but just using the web with projects because projects tend to be very self-contained contexts.
Mm-hmm.
And it helps a lot because I can dump a repo. I use Git ingest to kind of build structs of like the repo structure, and I can filter it to specific areas, kind of like what you mentioned with focusing it on a specific directory. So I filter it to a very specific area directory, upload that, and let Claude start ragging on that so that it can figure out kind of what to build from there.
Mm-hmm.
Makes it a lot easier.
Yeah. But yeah,
I'll
I
have
would
to.
say check out beads. It's kind of a game
Nice.
changer. It's kind of like a superpower, honestly.
All
And
right.
I think my favorite thing is literally just you can close your session and then continue where you left off, you know? It's pretty cool. Chugging Coffee asks, do you guys happen to have an engineering blog?
Uh, we're working on it.
We
I
have our
so
agents to write the blogging. Yeah, the blog stuff.
yeah, we could do that. We're definitely working on adding more engineering content, like with an engineering blog. I mentioned earlier I did Codebeam this past year, Codebeam Europe, and we presented a lot of like our architecture around like state machines and how they work. And I'd love to turn that into a blog so that more people can get back into state machines. We are kind of like actively always thinking about it, but it's also something that we got to find time for.
Yeah. No, it's hard. Like creating a blog and being consistent is hard. And I feel like you can't really like you don't want everything to look like LLM slop either.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
So it
Like
takes a lot of time.
I do we do have it in our like backlog always, like we put in like little backlog issues of like let's write a blog about this. This is pretty cool. Like we could do something with this.
Hmm.
But yeah, the consistency and the time is unfortunately similar to LLMs. We are very bad at time management. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
I've always loved Peter Ulrich, his approach.
Yeah.
He's like a big fan of like micro blogs. He's like they're quick and there's just like a specific issue. Like if he runs into a specific like problem doing something, he writes like just a 5 minute post about just that. And I
Nice.
kind of like that. He's like, and then if someone has that specific problem and they Google it, they find your post about it.
All right. Daniel, what do you think? Maybe we should do that.
It's a nice approach. I was just, as you said that, I was thinking like, if if my ADD level would allow me to, find time to tell the kids to hold it for a moment so I can write a blog, that would be awesome.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah.
You
on
just
the
need to
bright
chat.
side,
You just need to start like a memo app and just speak it out, and then and then
But
format it later.
the amount of children at his house would make that memo app have a lot of
No,
that's gonna
interesting.
take us
nice.
in, that's gonna take us into the nerves conversation in order to scan the vibe around the house. Have a microphone in the house and scans like what's going on, how many times they're screaming mom. And, but yeah, I agree that sometimes we even tend to overcomplicate those kind of things. It could be a very simple blog that tries to narrow down a specific issue. I'm sure that Peter just has already done this so many times that he has just nailed the approach to how to go through it.
Well, he also
Um,
loves writing, and I feel like like I don't have the love for writing, so it's not something I get excited about. Like, ooh, I
Yeah.
get to write a blog post today.
I read
yeah,
his a blog post about like the listening to the wall changes that he posted like a month ago, I think. And I don't think I would ever be able to write that much because it's super informative. It was an awesome post. I love reading it because I love reading. I don't think I could do that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, he's a cool dude, but I feel like you do need that. You need that skill of love of writing. Like I enjoy educating, but I don't enjoy educational writing, if that makes
Oh yeah.
sense. So I'm like, I'd rather just turn on the camera and spew than,
Yeah.
but yeah, someday I'll
We
be.
could create like a transcript of a specific episode and try to turn it into.
So I do keep talking about this, and I probably annoy everyone because I just talk about it and never do it. But I think it'd be cool to create an Elixir Mentor LLM where I let it learn off of all my video transcripts. I think that could be a really cool resource.
All right.
But I just don't know, like, what do I do with that? Do I just let anyone interact with it? Like, I feel like you kind of need a price wall up so you can't just get hammered with requests. I don't know. I don't know what to do.
Well,
It's
you can only find a platform that would allow you to strategize that thing.
I mean, I am probably going to sign up for MarkeTeam AI for Kill Switch, and I'll see how it goes. Cause
all right, yeah,
we'll see.
You'll have to shoot us a message. We can get one of our team to kind of give you some tutorials and kind of help you get started as well, just to make sure that you don't like get lost in anything.
Yeah, that would be awesome. I get frustrated and give up very easily, so I'll probably need some hand holding.
Oh yeah, the amount of side projects that I have is it makes me very much the same.
Yeah. Well, like I have the problem with me, like every idea, the busier I am, the better ideas that pop into my head. It's a curse. But
it's like a common thing, like like your brain is trying to make you fail at stuff.
Yeah, because
I'm gonna give you this great idea.
Time to do something else. Like, yeah, I know you're like 75% done with this great idea, but what about this one? Like,
Yes.
I want to start another podcast, but I just don't have time to do it. Like, because I love my Elixir Mentor podcast, but I want one that isn't just tied to the Elixir stack. I want to do kind of like a founders, like a technical founders podcast.
Nice.
Where we can kind of like war story it and talk about more like how the product became versus being like more technical, but like kind of like what everyone goes through so people get a better idea and understanding the difficulty it is to actually launch a successful product.
Yeah.
I think that would be fun because from my perspective, and I'm sure from yours as well, building it is the easy part. Because that's what we enjoy doing. We're the engineers, we solve problems. And I'm not writing it off and saying it's easy, but that's the easiest part for me.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we love building and we love doing things, and as the technical leaders, we always love kind of like oh, I can do this in such a cool way, and this lets me learn this thing or this thing. But it's the next step that's always difficult, especially when it comes to the finding the target audience and making sure that you're getting users engaged, and then analyzing the users and figuring all that out. I mean, it's a lot.
Yeah, like I'm having Rob Walling on, the SaaS Playbook author.
Nice.
And I'm having him on at the beginning of February, and like I've kind of like been obsessing with his stuff because I am trying to be smarter with marketing and actually launching a product. And it's just like I know this is my failure. It's just like, oh, I don't want to do that. Like I'm more likely like I'll implement that feature I've been thinking about and procrastinate on the important stuff of actually like getting your product in people's hands.
I feel that. I also, I mean, just I don't know how you see this with Kill Switch, but I think especially over the last probably like 8 to 12 months, I think the game has changed a lot. I mean, so many strategies used to be valid, especially in terms of like the milestones that you had to hit and things like that. It used to be a very quick, like classic, hit this milestone, and then after that, that you have your target audience, and after that, you have, after this, you have that. And the game has just changed so much, especially with how people are interacting with things.
For sure. Well, and like the whole like SEO game, I feel like is dying on the vine, right? Because now, how do you get ranked in an LLM? Like you want your product to be recommended by Claude or by ChatGPT.
Oh, I can tell you. It's called AEO. It's answer engine optimization, and it is a beast.
I was gonna say, how do you even like attempt to start getting on that? How do you even start ranking for things like that?
Well, you sign up to MarkeTeam AI, and then you go and talk to Jane. She's our content and SEO agent, and she specializes in AEO. No, there's a lot of strategies. There's a lot of strategies around it. It's a beast. It's really complicated.
Yeah.
And I mean, the game is constantly changing. It used to be a long time ago. I remember that there was a huge story around how overnight, like all of the news sites lost all of their traffic because Facebook changed their algorithm. And everywhere, they used to post.
You hear that all the time, like Google with SEO, and like it's something you can't control, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and it's even worse now with LLMs and search providers being, so different, and they're not being kind of a centralized way of knowing how to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you just double sold me on trying your product. So.
Yeah, I'm glad.
Look at this. These guys are supposed to be engineers, but they might be salesmen.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. We might not even be here. This is just a.
If anyone wants,
just AI generated.
It's.
You guys are AI generated. I don't even think I'm talking to engineers.
But I think it's part of a. As you mentioned a while ago, believing and using the product you're building, right? As cliche as as it sounds, but it has its own base, and as I told you once you start hearing like these success stories, and even the failure stories also help, but with the success stories, you see that you're on the right path. So yeah, maybe that's if we sound that convincing, then.
So here's my question for you guys: would you, no questions asked, use MarkeTeam if you created your own SaaS product or something tomorrow? Would that be your go-to marketing strategy?
Well, I think we're biased because we know it works well, so we would. Or at least I would. I don't want to speak for Daniel, but I definitely would, just because I both know it works well and I know how to use the platform because I built it. So I would definitely use it, and I would definitely go kind of all out. Different people, your mileage may vary. It's very classic, and you can kind of use whatever you feel is right. You should use MarkeTeam, but experiment if you want to experiment and try inferior products.
Well,
yeah. I can tell.
You don't have to mention anything, but like, what is the competitive, like, don't mention companies if you don't want to, but what's the competitive space look like right now? Like with market, like exactly what you're doing. Are there a lot of other tools out there?
I think like many companies, we can say that no other tool does exactly what we do. But competitively, there are a lot of very specific parts of our stack that other companies do. For example, like the most classic thing that you would do with any LLM is social media post generation and picture generation, right? Go to ChatGPT and type, write me a post. But like we were kind of talking about earlier, that's not really great and it's not sustainable because it'll just sound the same every day. I think the new fad after you're absolutely right is now this isn't it's right? That's like the new thing that just makes it an AI post. So it's very easy to tell that it's AI. It's also very easy to tell that it's not part of your branding or things like that. But you can, use those tools and go for it.
How annoyed do you get when you see someone posting or writing blogs that's just clearly AI generated? It's like my biggest pet peeve.
it's rough.
Yeah. Well, and that's interesting because
kinda,
you guys are writing
tools.
You guys are creating tools to actually write posts, but they need to look like they're not written by an LLM.
So the way we look at it and kind of view it is that we're, our core product isn't about the content generation. It's about the strategy and it's about the brand. The content generation is very much a byproduct. And to be honest, use whatever tool you feel is right? I love it if you'd use us. That's amazing. But use us for the strategy. Learn how to do the marketing. Learn what you got to do. We'll tell you. You don't have to connect anything, and you'll get very specific, strategy for your brand, your details, and all that. Reading, AI generated content is not fun, and our content generation very much tries to make it feel like it's not AI generated because we bring in the entire brand context, including tone of voice and previous blogs that you've written, so that it actually sounds like something you would write. Not only the generic format of whatever a blog used to be, or whatever that is. But at the end of the day, it's all about the strategy, not about the output of the content.
Yeah, for sure. What do you feel like what do humans still do better than like agents? Like where's my interaction with MarkeTeam that like balances things out? Like what's required there?
I think it depends on your speciality. If you are a marketer and you know what you're doing in marketing, we're an augment. If you're not, we can take over the process and do it. Everything is with approvals, so you can have final say. And if you don't like how it looks or how it works or anything like that, then go for it. I think in the dev space and in the engineering space, LLMs have gotten fairly close to solving like UI, but not as much to solving behavior and interactions with UI. At least that's my experience with them.
Do you think it fails a little bit on the UX side of things?
It depends on the UX. If you have a very standardized UX and like a standard product, I think it does pretty well, because it'll just kind of, if I ask an LLM to, just give me the UI and UX design of, an onboarding, it'll give you like a standardized onboarding. And that's familiar to a lot of people, and it's fairly classic. If you ask it to create a chat, it'll create a very specific chat type because that's all it knows. And then it won't do what you want it to do, and it'll kind of spiral off because then the context will get too big and you kind of lose everything.
For sure. What was
I think
oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I think like the areas where we've seen it fail like more for us, it's the because as Coby mentioned, the UX part can be fairly fine, but when you include it into your code, it's we also tested, like if you take it to a new project, it's one thing.
Yeah.
The moment you give it into a established code base, it came to a point where it was, to be fair, I had a piece of code that was unstaged, right? And it just went and removed it and applied its own implementation, right? And I was like, okay, that's rude. But it's a problem, right?
And then it responded, "What is this trash?" No.
Yeah.
Well, we're very disparaging to Claude. Yeah.
So yeah, that's we think that I think we already stopped trying on that side. We understand that the amount of guidelines that it needs, I don't know, specific for an Elixir or a Phoenix project, that's the problem. But the amount of violations it goes into, being able to call your repo actor from a LiveView is just it's just something that we understood that we're not gonna integrate. To be fair, we do use pull request reviewing, like AI reviewing tool, which it removes a couple of loops of reviews from the human side of it, right? And it catches things that I mean, you got to be fair with the tool. I mean, sometimes it doesn't have, and again, the whole problem lies in the context, in the amount of context that it has, right? But when it has the correct amount of context, it gives you like the suggestions or just the feedback of where you're screwing up.
Have you found like, so I've used like Copilot review and Claude Code review. I have found that it will either be remarkably amazing and actually give good feedback or hallucinate the whole review. Do you guys kind of find that?
We
Yeah.
we use Greptile,
Okay.
and I props to them. They've built certain things that work really well. I haven't used Copilot or Claude Code in like reviews yet. But I don't know like if it builds an index of your code so they can actually figure out whether like what your pull request is affecting. Greptile does, at least from what we've seen, so it does have some slightly better knowledge. But there are hit or miss situations. Like sometimes it'll like just be fully wrong because my favorite thing that it's been fully wrong about so many times, and I think they finally fixed it because I think Reptile is also built on Claude, and when 4.5 came out, it was a new batch of data, so it had more training data in it. But for a very long time, it continuously told us that like toTimeout was not a function. Everything's going to crash. This is a critical issue. And toTimeout has been in Elixir since 1.17, and it's very okay to use.
Yeah. I mean, for the most part, I feel like it works okay, but I'll have to check out Greptile. That sounds good. Pauly said that they use Gemini for PR reviews for their Rails project, and it works very well.
Nice.
I have found like Gemini, I have found works really good for understanding like large, like the macro view of a problem and like helping you create a plan. But I have still found that like Claude Code's better at creating features and writing code. At least that's...
Yeah, I think we've hit similar things. I mean, I mostly use Claude when I want to kind of dip into the LLM stuff, and I more often than not I get it to like verify a lot of things that I'm building. So like if I need like a review and things like that, I give it a lot of context, and then I get it to verify what I've missed and things like that. And it tends to work better than like ChatGPT, which nowadays is just pretty terrible at coding from my perspective. I haven't used Gemini as much though.
I don't use Gemini very often, but I have a couple developer coworkers that like Gemini, and nice. I kind of just like Claude Code just works for me, so I don't have a reason to keep trying. I'm not like, I like LLMs but I'm not like fully hyped on like every release that comes out. And you know, I don't know how you guys are. You might be a little more into it since it's like your current like daily workflows, but
not.
Yeah. But like I have buddies that just obsess and they know every single model and the strengths and weaknesses for everything, and it's just like, I'm not that OCD, guys. I just want a tool that works.
I think the interesting thing is that we follow all the news. Like we always know when something new comes out, and we'll check it, we'll see what happens. But the funny thing is that more often than not, people who post about it are usually posting noise or something that works very specifically for what they wanted. And then if I ever try to do anything that is slightly different from what they wrote exactly in their post, it just kind of crashes and burns.
Yeah. Now, one I haven't used at all is Grok. And I
was going to mention that.
Have you guys tried Grok for code?
Yeah.
I may be the only representative here that's gone that path.
Well, to be fair, which Grok you're talking about? Are you talking about Grok with a K or with a Q?
I didn't know there was one with a Q.
The one with the Q is they're a hardware company that I think they just got like bought by NVIDIA or something. But they like made incredibly fast LLMs to the point where like it was like 30 or 40 times faster than like the other LLMs. It was awesome. But I think, yeah, if you're talking about Grok with a K, Daniel is a pro with that.
It's hard to know what features work well with Grok because I feel like it's so much BS gets pushed out on X. Like it just seems like a bot farm when they push new features.
Yeah, I think the one reason you might want to give it a go, because sometimes sometimes when you get whatever platform you're using, you get something that makes you doubt, then it's fine to jump into an alternative one and see what's happening over there. And I did that with Grok, and Grok is very lax, or not very lax, but it's more permissive when it comes to pushing the boundaries of what could be considered for example, if you go into scraping, right? If you ask about something about scraping, then it will let you know that it might not be cool with whoever's hosting the website, but it will give you strategies of how to work around all that stuff, right? So they're more permissive into what can be considered ethical, yeah. But I have to be honest. For example, when I was building the implementation against Google Ads, I planned the whole thing with Grok, right? And I have to say, I mean, it was giving me here and there like attributes that didn't exist. Yeah. But to be fair, also I wasn't doing what I now do, which is something that I've been going back and forth with Coby. When you provide, you upload a file with all the documentation, for example, of whatever it is that you're working with, right? So you either can give it a link, or you can just give it an uploaded file. Daisy, if you've seen it, Daisy also does that, provides a URL with their documentation as a text file, which is actually like it comes like a markdown, and you feed that and like
it's that the LLM.txt
context. Yeah,
the LLM.txt standard is great when people maintain them. When they don't, then you just have to kind of create your own. But yeah, it's put the when you start with a clean context and you focus it a lot more with documentation first, and then after that, pushing into like the feature building.
Have you guys played around with Zach Daniel's usage rules library?
I haven't. I've heard a lot about it, and I see it always in all of the different Ash projects.
Yeah, so Kill Switch is actually an Ash project, and I've used usage rules without Ash. It's awesome.
Really?
So as long as like dependencies you're using also use it, right? Because that's pretty much like the thing, right? It goes and looks for a specific dependency's usage rules and then adds them to your like Claude MD or whatever you're using. But then it just like it unlocks. It like automatically knows how to use this library properly now, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean the only shame is that it's very very Elixir focused.
Correct. Yeah.
So the LLM.txt standard is great, and I'm really hoping that a lot of places will
implement it.
But it's all dependent on whoever implements. At the end of the day, just getting the docs and figuring out how to push them into the context is a game changer.
Yeah, I'm sure. That's cool. Awesome, guys. Well, I think we can start to wrap this thing up. If anyone has any more questions, now's the time. I'm curious, like if there was anything that you'd do differently if you started over today, would you still have your strategic LLM? Like, how would you approach rolling out anything? Is there anything that you would change differently in your development strategy?
I think in terms of like the LLM side of things, the strategic LLM, but focusing it more from the beginning would probably be what we would be doing. Because at the beginning, I mean, I mentioned this, at the beginning of the conversation, but at the very beginning, we started wide. We started trying to make a full-on, LLM for marketing, not very focused yet. So I think there's been an advent into small language models and things that are very focused around, specific things, which do a lot better. And that would be kind of where we start. From the Elixir side of things, I'd be pushing Gen State Machine everywhere, man.
Yeah. No growing pains with Gen servers, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would submit. He would submit a pull request to remove that from the.
Oh yeah. And then if we're talking about like the Elixir and LiveView specific, also, I think originally we didn't start with Daisy. We started with Daisy a year into everything, and it took us a bit to shift. Daisy is great, but I've been personally starting to look more at like the vanilla CSS, like more Basecamp way of writing components, which is very nice. It's very, CSS is all you need style.
Yeah.
And it's a lot more focused. And well, I don't know how much you know about the drama that just hit Tailwind this past week, but it would mean not having to be tied to Tailwind, which is a little bit nicer.
There's always drama in the dev space, isn't there?
Oh yeah.
Except for I feel like Elixir is pretty good at not having too much drama. There's a little bit, but never too much.
I guess because of its size.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, I mean, we had some big drama like a few months ago when the struct update syntax changed.
Yeah. Okay.
Are you up in arms about that?
Well, if that's the drama, then we're good.
I mean, I look at like being an outsider to like the Rust community, that I don't ever want to ever be there.
Oh yeah. I recently posted some stuff on the Elixir Discord because there was a lot of discourse about, Rust versus Go versus readability versus Elixir versus things like that. And I posted like something directly from the Rust docs, and it just, I mentioned that it has more special characters than my passwords. And that in itself is something that I would never want in my code.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, Paulie, I agree. He said for me, LLM is an accelerator. I don't think it replaces much. I think it does, it changes the way I write code. Like I rarely write code now, but I'm always reading code, which is kind of weird. And I think it's hard for a lot of developers to get used to that, or they feel like they're like losing their edge because they can't write code well anymore. But I also feel like, I don't know, I'd rather have the end product that works well than I don't really care how I wrote it as long as it's written well and right. But that's just me.
I think it's super dependent on what you're building as well. Like front end, I mentioned this before, but I think LLMs for me have solved a lot of the front end issues that I used to have with building components and building.
Well, and then like you mentioned, doing raw CSS with an LLM, that makes that process a lot easier.
Yeah, exactly. I don't have to worry about trying to figure out, anything about it. And, on the back end side, it purely depends on how complex the feature is, which is.
The problem is that people stop posting to Stack Overflow. So now you kind of like have to go to an LLM.
I can't even copy and paste a shitty solution from Stack Overflow into my code base.
I mean,
that one is always like the funny one to me is like, you're going to just let LLMs write crappy code now in security vulnerabilities. I was like, bro, we've been doing that with Stack Overflow for years.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like
you still need the skill set of like bad code smell no matter what you're doing.
Oh yeah. It's all about trust but verify. I mean, you gotta know what you're reading. I think there's, the new generation of developers that's coming into the space now. I don't think they need to be afraid of LLMs. There's a lot of like fear mongering going around. I don't think they need to be afraid. It's an accelerator for sure, but you gotta know what you're doing. I mean, if you've never written Elixir and you're gonna purely trust an LLM to write everything for you, that's gonna be a mistake. But if you know Elixir, you've written gen servers, you know what's going on, and then you can start reviewing the LLM and correcting it, or more importantly, telling it, hey, you're absolutely wrong about this because it has been in Elixir for years, then
I'm
you know?
curious, like, what is your take? Like, I think we're fortunate, right? Because we actually had to learn how to code, write our own code, bang our heads against the wall. Um, what is like, what is your suggested approach for a new developer? Because they can rely a lot more heavily on an LLM, but how do they learn the same mistakes we learned through actually having to write code and understand how things work?
Yeah. I have a very specific workflow for learning right now. First step, RTFM. You got to read the manual. You don't necessarily have to understand it all, but you got to read it so that you're already picking up on like the keywords and understanding like what's going on. And you'll understand a lot. The more you read, the more you understand, you're going to pick it up. Second step, drop that link into an LLM, have it explain it to you in layman's terms. Or alternatively, have it translate it to something you're working on. So a little bit ago, I went into, I have a bad habit of just exploring the Erlang docs because that's how I found Gen State Machine, and that's how I found all these little tricks that I wouldn't have found without that. And I found the softs module, which is the sets of sets module, which is a pretty cool one. I read through the docs, didn't understand a lick of it because it's all about sets, and I don't know anything about set theory. I failed out of college. But I read it. I could pick out like the code examples and understand kind of what was going on. And then I gave that to Claude and had it explain to me when I would use this module and how I could use it in MarkeTeam. And it gave me real world examples. With code examples. And then from there, I could start kind of building and playing around with it on my own, which I think is the third and most important step. Don't let the LLM write all your code initially. Play around with it. Figure out how it's working. Mm-hmm. From there, you can start reviewing and understanding.
Because I do feel like getting the skill to having like knowing when there's bad code smell, right? Mm-hmm. I feel like it will be harder for new developers to get that instinct at least as quickly as someone that had to, go the old route of reading documents manually and writing code manually. And I don't know, maybe not, but
I think like together with what Coby mentioned, the documentation part I think it's a must. And I mean, again, if you're alone as a beginner, all the junk you're gonna get from the LLM, I think the best way you could assess like the amount of how trashy it is using other people. And if you don't have specific friends, right, in whatever you're doing, you do have the communities. And if we're talking specific about Elixir, I think there's no way you drop something on the Elixir forum. There's no way people are not gonna jump into telling you. Giving you more hints.
You'll get told it's wrong really quick if that's what you're worried about.
Or what's even more fun is you'll drop it and then Jose is going to answer you immediately because the guy doesn't sleep and is constantly helping people.
Yeah, that dude's a rock star.
Yeah.
I always think that him and Zach Daniel. I don't know how they do it.
I have no idea. Zach popped up in the Discord recently and just started helping someone with Ash stuff and understanding what it was. And I was like, what? Where are you coming from, man?
Dude, he's everywhere within minutes. Maybe not so much anymore. I know he was trying to remove himself slightly because his bandwidth is only so much. But yeah, superheroes, man.
Oh, yeah. But Daniel's
awesome.
Right.
Wait, go ahead.
I was going to say, Daniel's absolutely right here. Copying Claude, I'm saying you're absolutely right. But the community is huge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And join Elixir Mentor Discord. Lots of people learning in there. And a lot of people are willing to look at a PR or, your repo if you have questions about how to implement something. Just don't ask super generic, impossible to answer questions. Dial it in. Mm-hmm. I always you have to know what you're asking before you ask it, right?
Oh, yeah.
So understand your own problem first.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, awesome. Thank you so much for this. I really enjoyed this conversation, and I'm definitely checking out MarkeTeam AI.
Hell yeah. Yeah. So, thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Let me know who I should
very
reach
much.
out to on your team too to get some hand holding.
Yeah, I mean, we'll let you know. We'll have
All
them
right,
reach out
sounds
to you.
good. All right, cool, man. All right, thanks again, guys. Everyone that tuned in, thank you, and enjoy your weekend.
All right, thanks.
Cheers, man. Thank you very much.
Testing